Hello to the people. Thank you. Thank you. Well, it was really a combination of things. First, I was very much inspired by Bernie Sanders, both the man and what he stood for, and I really loved the guy. And I was deeply, obviously, I was devastated by the results of both the convention and the election. But the convention also motivated me in another way. To put it in plain language, I got pissed off with the way the nomination was, what I believe, stolen from Bernie by the Democratic establishment. We've reached a point now where they're not even denying they stole it, and they're arguing to courts that they had the right to lie, cheat, and steal and do what they did, which I found, pretty. I do find it pretty outrageous. So it was a combination of inspiration and anger. And when Trump was elected, it kind of pushed me over the edge. I felt I had to do something personally. And I'm not a youngster, as may be apparent, despite my youthful looks. I'm not a young guy. And so I can't do it the way most politicians do, which is start out on a school board and then go to a city council, then be the mayor, and then be the. So I jumped in. I feel that Nancy Pelosi is vulnerable. I don't feel she's connected to her constituents here in San Francisco, what they believe in and what they stand for. And I felt this would be a good time for me to try and take this on. Well, I'm a complete novice at this. I'm a really experienced, good lawyer, but I had absolutely no idea what I was doing when I put together this campaign. So I went out and I got myself a couple of really professional people to start out. I know that there are some campaigns that are run around a lot of candidates' kitchen tables when they start out. But I'm not taking on some lightweight politician here. I'm taking on really the representative of the establishment of the Democratic Party. So I felt I had to do it correctly. And I've had a lot of very good advice and guidance from those people. I'm relying on my own life experience and my own ideas and just who I am insofar as the issues go. But as far as the nuts and bolts of how the campaign is run, I have to rely on the advice of other people. I mean, that's the best answer I could give you. No, this is really a a collaborative effort. A campaign, it may seem to be about one person, but it's about a group of people. And unless they're all working together, it's not going to happen. As we now see, as the White House appears to disassemble before our eyes, you can see that's a good example of what happens when people don't work together. Oh, well, do you have a few weeks? Um, we're kind of at opposite ends of the political spectrum and the life spectrum. I don't want to get too personal about this, but I think our life experience is completely different. I have been practicing law for 46 years, and I have had, because of certain events in my life not related to my law practice, good years and bad years, and rich years and lean years. And I don't believe Miss Pelosi has ever had to worry about the kinds of things that most Americans really have to worry about. So that differentiates. Plus, I've had to work for a living my whole life. I still have to work for a living. I don't believe Ms. Pelosi has ever also had that life experience. So I don't want to get any more personal than that. So that's my best answer. They can hear me. I know that.
Let's see what's going on here. Why people aren't hearing me? Okay, you know what? We had that thunderstorm. There he goes. You know what? Thank you, Momo. All right, brother. I think we're good. I see the readings now. Thank you, brother. Okay, JP, I had a thunderstorm here sweep through Maryland. They could hear you fine, but they couldn't hear me for a minute because my system, everything got knocked offline. But look, this tech issue had nothing to do with you at all. And they could hear your responses. They just didn't know what I asked you. So, so and that's okay because this show tonight, you're the star. It's not about me, so that's cool. Can you hear now? They say, but now they can. Okay, all right, guys. I think we're good now. Well, we'll just start here. We'll just dig into it. The rest was kind of warm up anyway. Jaffe, universal health care. What do you think about it?
Well, I'm 150% in favor of universal health care. That's the short answer. When I've given some of these interviews, I tell people that the two most rare words in politics that you hear, the two most rare words are the words yes and no. So if you ask me, are you in favor of single payer health care? My answer is yes. You want me to elaborate? I'll be glad to do so.
Please do.
If you ask I know that. If you ask my opponent whether she's in favor of single payer health care, you'll get a 5-minute speech and no answer. So,
yeah, look, you said you're a novice, JP, but you know how this game works. You know what they do.
Well, I'm not a novice in life, but I know, So I'll elaborate a little bit. First of all, the rest of the industrialized world, every country that is able to do it, adopts single payer health care. All of Europe, okay? It's time for the United States to join the rest of the world in doing and providing universal health care for its residents. It is cheaper to do it. It is healthier for the people being taken care of to do it. People under those healthcare systems, particularly in the Scandinavian countries, they live longer, they are healthier, they are able to work less. And finally, for all the reasons, I guess there's two more things. One, the opponents of single payer healthcare say, oh, the taxes will go through the roof, it's going to be very expensive. Right. And yes, indeed, there may be a rise in taxes. But guess what? There won't be any more health insurance premiums for anybody to pay.
That's a beautiful thing.
It's going to be cheaper for the average person to have his taxes go up a little bit instead of paying these outrageous health insurance premiums that are being paid right now. So, and the last thing I want to say is the fallback position for people who criticize it the most is, oh, that's socialist. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's socialist. Well, we're all socialists in the United States. We have Medicare. We have Social Security. We have libraries, police departments, fire departments. Those are all the products of pooling the money together and spending it for the benefit of the people collectively. Socialism is not a dirty word. It's just a way of paying for things. It is not communism. It is not dictatorship. It's socialism. So I don't find that to be a dirty word. And we already have the machinery set up to do this. We have the Medicare system set up. Universal health care is nothing more than another way of saying it is Medicare for all. That's another way of saying it. So bring the rest of the people in, and we will solve many problems. So
yeah, absolutely, absolutely, man, absolutely. I hope they can hear that clap. Absolutely. I mean, I think that the mainstream media, not mainstream media, I'd say Republican media, right-wing media has made socialism seem like a bad thing. And you know what, to a certain extent, no, let me take that back. Democrats have too. In fact, when I saw you kicking the reality about socialism on Fox News, I was like, hold on, this is Fox News. Why haven't they had him on MSNBC or CNN? And let me just ask, have they had you on yet, Stephen?
No, and the reason I think they had me on Fox News is even though I'm a progressive Democrat, they dislike Ms. Pelosi more than they dislike me. And since I'm running against her, I guess they figure, let's get the guy on who's running against someone we don't like. That's the only thing I can figure.
But JP, aren't you a Democrat as well, just like Nancy Pelosi? I mean, not the same, not even, but you are under the same umbrella, right?
We're in the same party. I am nothing like Nancy Pelosi, starting in almost every way you can imagine.
Right. But what I'm saying is, how can I put this? Look, she's a Democrat, you're a Democrat. I know that you differ on policies, but you're in the same party. If the Democrats, everyone knows that, like, MSNBC and CNN, they're run by pretty much the DNC. That's how we look at it. People on the ground, that's how we see it. We see that liberal media as being an extension of DNC. And they're not bringing on other Democrats. I mean, Bernie was an independent who ran as a Democrat. You're a Democrat running as a Democrat. Just a liberal Democrat or a truly liberal Democrat?
Well, I think the Democratic Party is broken, but I think it's fixable. And I think the way it is going to be fixed is by having people like me, progressives, running against the establishment Democrats and take over the seats that we're going to take over in the Congress. I think the Democratic Party, the way I view the parties, Tim, is a third of the people are on the left and they've always been Democrats. A third of the people are on the right and they've always been Republicans. And in the middle, the two parties historically, they've overlapped. They've overlapped a little bit. So what happened is when about the time of Reagan, the Republicans started moving more to the right when Reagan, and they have since his time in the 80s. And when that happened, the Democrats, there was a void left kind of in the middle. Mm-hmm. So some of the Democrats on the left, they said, okay, we're going to go in there and fill this void. They became more centrists rather than liberal or progressive. And that has produced the Nancy Pelosi's and the Dianne Feinsteins and the people, I call them corporate Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
The establishment, you can pick whatever euphemism you want, but that's really what's happened. But that doesn't mean the Democratic Party itself is irreparable. I think it needs to be fixed. Bernie almost fixed it. I think actually Bernie did fix it, but they stole it from him. So I'm going to hopefully participate in taking the party back for the liberal left wing. Liberal people don't say that much anymore. The progressive left wing, which I think is the true heart of the Democratic Party.
I was reading an article just before this show. It was by the LA Times. It just came out, I think today. No, actually a couple weeks ago. And they're talking about, they said that it's about you, Stephen. And they said you in it. They lead up. It's kind of poetic the way they start off the article, but then they get down to it and they say that he hopes to knock off Nancy Pelosi, the former House Speaker, the current Democratic minority leader, and a political fixture in San Francisco for almost 50 years. And they say that he's not going to portray her as failed Republicans have, as a lipstick embodiment of the ludicrous left, but rather he's suggesting that Nancy Pelosi's not liberal enough, or for that matter, even a true liberal. And they say this proposition would be dismissed as outlandish anywhere other than San Francisco. So in San Francisco, is that the temperature on the ground? Folks in San Francisco don't see her as progressive or a true liberal?
That's how it seems to me. I think Ms. Pelosi has become so accustomed to being a national political figure, and she views herself as kind of the embodiment of the Democratic Party. She's forgotten who elects her, and that's a little district out here in California called the 12th District. And she is, in my view, very disconnected from the views and wishes of her constituents. She was elected to go to Congress and represent the 12th District, not the United States.
Wow.
I'm going there to represent the 12th District. I have no aspirations to become a national political figure. So that's my job. I'm going to listen to the people in San Francisco, and I'm going to go there. I'm going to let the country hear what they have to say.
Man, I love it, Stephen, man. I love what you're about. I love your message. I love that you're focused on the issues of the people locally, the people that actually are going to elect you. And it's like, yeah, she took the ball off of the people that got her in office to begin with, and now she's playing all these away games. No home games, all away games, right? So what are some issues that are affecting people in the 12th District? Man, I'd like to hear this. I had Preston Peakus on the show last year, so I got a vested interest in making this happen for you, man. So anyway, what are some issues going on in the 12th District?
Preston has, I should quickly add, Preston has endorsed me, so I thank him for that. So has Tim Canova, who almost beat Debbie Wasserman Schultz. So things are moving along. Issues in the 12th District. Minimum wage is a big issue. I'm in favor of a $15 minimum wage. So apparently is Mrs. Pelosi today. But that doesn't go far enough. What I'm in favor of doing is having a minimum wage that is indexed to the cost of living where it is paid. Okay? San Francisco is the most expensive city in the United States. Now, it doesn't cost the same to live here and the outrageous rents, and that's a whole nother conversation about where that's going. But the outrageous rents and cost of living and gasoline and food for people who are struggling here in San Francisco is different than the people struggling out in Nebraska or out in the Plain States, where life is blissfully much, much cheaper. Okay? The standard of living, to achieve the same standard of living, you have to tie it to what it costs to live there. So if I'm elected to Congress, I'm starting to think I'm going to propose a federal minimum wage that's indexed to the local cost of living. I don't know if anyone.
No, I don't mean to cut you off, Stephen. It's just like I've never heard such sensible strategy with such a sensible policy. Like that makes so much sense. Why isn't anybody else talking about? Where'd you get that idea from, Stephen?
I thought of that too. Honestly, you want an honest answer?
Please, all of them. I want all the answers honest. But yes.
Yesterday and today, I thought of it because when I was thinking about the $15 minimum wage, I thought about what does that come to in a 40-hour week? That's 150. That's what, $600 a month. I think that's right. Somebody check my math. I'm bad at math. But $600 a month, man, that's going to leave you on the street in San Francisco. It is impossible to live at $600 a month or even double that. Whereas $600 a month out somewhere else in a small town somewhere, you might struggle, but man, you'll get by. You might be able to get by. Well, that's not equality. Minimum wage has to be for a minimum standard of living.
Yeah. Gosh, radical. Well, Stephen, when you came up with this idea, this great idea, did you have to check with like your sponsors or I don't know, did you have to run it by a group of people with cigars and back rooms? I mean, could you just able to just like speak for yourself and have an idea that helps
Hey
the
man,
person?
I don't have any sponsors. You're looking at the sponsor. I am beholden to no one. No
Oh,
one. I don't take corporate money. So far, I haven't taken any PAC money. All my donations are tiny little donations, just like Bernie's were, tiny
mm,
little donations. So uh, I don't have sponsors, and I don't owe anyone anything. And that's it's very nice to be able to say whatever I want to say without worried about what anyone else is going to think.
oh man, it's so refreshing, Stephen. I'm trying to tell you. You know, when you brought up Tim Canova, who's a man, I met Tim Canova. I had him on the show a couple times. We ran a Tim Canova-thon trying to raise money for his campaign. I was just upset I didn't get involved earlier. And also Preston, are you getting endorsed? What are some of the other endorsements that you've received? I'm specifically want to ask: has Ro Khanna endorsed you? Has he reached out to you?
He has not. I've yet to meet him. I'm a little, to use one of my favorite words, flummoxed by Mr. Khanna. I understand he recently, um, I don't know if he endorsed Nancy Pelosi for reelection because it's so far off, but I don't understand that because that seems to me to be contrary to what he said his beliefs are. It sounds to me, from what I know about Congressman Khanna, that he and I have a lot more in common than he and Miss Pelosi do
Right.
in terms of our view of the world politically. But the short answer is no, he hasn't.
Very, very interesting. Very, I just had Rocano on the show a week ago, and that was one of the questions people were asking. Like, well, why is he? Why does it seem like because he wrote an op-ed for Nancy Pelosi, and they're like, that doesn't make sense. You're a progressive, and you are writing. Justice Democrats, Justice Democrats have reached out to me a couple times lately and retweeted a couple things. Have they reached out to you? Have they tried to recruit you as a Justice Democrat?
A couple of people have, and this is one of those issues in which I'm going to defer to my people, call them my people who are helping me run. I just don't know enough about them yet to say one way or the other. They seem to be on the same page as I do, but I really have to study it a little more
Okay.
before I can decide to commit to that. That's true with all the organizations. There's a lot of progressive organizations out there. There ought to be some kind of central organization of organizations so that we all can coordinate with each other rather than so we don't spin our wheels too much.
Right, sort of like a lot of fragmentation. Make a clearinghouse of,
Yes.
yeah, maybe a
Yeah.
website where you can go to and find out, like, we want some check marks. Make it easy to know what these groups are about.
Well, there is a an event in a couple of weeks in Chicago called the People's Summit,
Uh huh.
and I'll be going to that and for that purpose to try to see how the wind's blowing for these other progressive organizations and see how we can help each other put together a stronger front against the establishment.
Well, I'm going to be there too. I got my press credentials stamped by the People's Summit. I'm going to be there, and I'd love to interview you in person. Forget this technology stuff, and it'll, you know, and we can meet in person, and I shake your hand, and we'll talk
Sure, I'd love that. Love
as
it.
well. As well. So what? I don't know. I'm. You answered most of the questions that I had. No super PAC money. You're not really down with mass incarceration, I would guess.
Well, I need to know what you mean by that. I certainly, as a lawyer, I have a lot of very strong opinions about the justice system. I'm against private prisons, for example. I think they're immoral. I don't think any company should make a profit from locking up other human beings. I mean, that's just the way I feel. Mass incarceration, you don't, if that means what I think you're meaning, you're just rounding up people based on their identity or who they are, that's despicable. I mean, that's horrible.
Yeah, if I understand it correctly, like there's a very small percentage of black folks in San Francisco, but they make up a large percentage of the inmates. Am I?
Oh well, that's not only true in San Francisco. That's true nationally. That's true in almost every place where there's a significant black, even when there's not a significant black population. San Francisco's black population has been diminishing. It's been going down because of this gentrification and construction that we're experiencing here. Very controversial. A lot of homes are being knocked down, destroyed, and huge high-rise condominiums are going up that cost between a half a million and $1 million or more. If you want a one-bedroom apartment, you're looking at about $2,500 a month and up, depending upon where you're living here in San Francisco. And ordinary folks can't afford that. They can't afford that. And it's kind of yeah. Oh, and I'm probably off by some, but
Yeah, it's still that's staggering, man. That's twice. There are people I know in West Virginia who probably pay half of that in mortgage. You know,
oh yeah.
yeah.
When I moved to San Francisco in 1970, I had a two-bedroom, two-bath, gorgeous apartment in Pacific Heights, which is supposed to be the best part of town, or some people think so, for $270.
Wow.
1970. And now you can add a zero to that and double it, and then you got the price of the apartment. Now what it is today.
Amazing.
So
Amazing.
yeah.
How will the? I was looking at Trump's budget. I was looking at his cuts, and I noticed he was taking a hacksaw to Medicaid and many other
Sure.
programs. How does that affect people in the 12th district?
Well, there's a lot of people here who use Medicaid. This city is the poster city for disparity of income. I mean, there's a lot of extremely wealthy people, and there's a lot of people who are struggling. And the middle class, there's not a lot of people in between. So the people who are struggling, they use Medicaid. I am optimistically thinking that Trump's budget and what he's proposing is never going to remotely get through the Senate. It's just mean. It's mean spirited. I don't know how else to describe it. I don't know what those folks are thinking. So,
Absolutely. Are there anything that I'm missing out on? What would you like? What are some topics or what are some points that you want to hit home with the people regarding your candidacy?
well, one of the points I want to bring up is not only do I want to represent the people in the 12th district in Congress for all the reasons that I've explained. I want to help reform the Democratic Party that's brought us to this sorry state that it is in. And there are two. I can tell you 2 points on how I want to do that. One is I want to abolish superdelegates. I think the superdelegates are undemocratic with both a big D and a little d. That's how Hillary Clinton and her people stole the nomination from Bernie, and superdelegates have to go. When a Democratic voter walks into a primary in any state and casts a vote, that Democratic primary voter has the right to assume that his or her vote is going to count. They have a reasonable expectation that their vote's going to count. Well, the Democratic Party doesn't seem to think so. They can say, yeah, you can vote in the primary, but we reserve the right to go in the back room and fix it and award the nomination to someone else. Well, if that's true, why hold the primary? Why don't you just go in the back room and do what you're going to do anyway? So I want to abolish superdelegates. I want to abolish a rule that says that incumbents are automatically endorsed. I don't know how many people know this. Incumbents, why would that be? Shouldn't they have to run on their record? Somebody's been in the Senate 6 years, and they would say, okay, I want to run again. Democratic Party steps up and say, you're endorsed. Well, no, that's not how. They should have to defend their record that they've done for the last 6 years. Same with the congressman for the last 2 years. Defend what you've done. Run on what you've done and who you are, not on the fact that your butt's been warming the chair for 2 years.
That doesn't go over well with many of the Democrats, man. If they're not incumbents now, they're looking forward to becoming incumbent and being hard to move out of their seats. So,
well, that's too bad. If they can't hold on to their seats based on doing the right thing, they shouldn't be there.
Gosh, man, I gotta get off that. Yeah, you can tell, and you're giving lawyers a really good name tonight, Stephen. You really are.
Thank you.
Amazing. I think that I think more people just need to know about your candidacy. I think more people need to know about your platform. So we talked about Medicare. We talked about incarceration. Let's talk about environment. I'm sure there's environmental issues in California that are concerns.
Another one of my favorites here. This is a kind of campaign issue that's got a couple of buckets in it. I call it science denial. There is this thing going around the country here called science denial, and it's got a couple of prongs to it. The biggest one, of course, is environment. Science deniers are also climate deniers, climate change deniers, and that's a serious problem. I am very much in favor of tackling climate change is real, and we've got to attack it. Trump says it's a hoax, and so that's very important. But also, I mean, there's science deniers who are they're against the theory of evolution. They don't want to teach evolution. They don't want to teach a lot of things. If you deny gravity and you step off the cliff, man, you're still going to fall down, whether you deny it or not. So everyone, just because you deny a fact doesn't change the fact that it's a fact. So there's this notion that's denying science just must make it so, and people have a right to their ignorance. I don't believe in that. So climate change and environment are two parts of this science denial.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely, Stephen. Like, I was denying I was losing my hair, but that didn't stop it. It didn't stop it. So Trump and all of you science deniers, Stephen's absolutely right. Yeah.
I mean, the anti-vaxxers are another one of those. Kids have a right to go to school and know that they're not going to get infected with diseases that are preventable. Now, I know there's some people that don't believe that, and they have their right to their beliefs, but the science doesn't support it. Facts are facts.
Yeah, I interviewed Dr. Jill Stein a number of times during the general election, and it just harkens back to that. And there are some questions about, I don't know, the number of vaccines, the severity of the cause, or what that may cause, but like anyone who thinks, I know Dr. Jill Stein believes in vaccines. She was just kind of concerned with the testing process, and the people that make the vaccines are on the boards for who approves vaccines. So that became a little murky. But the idea that kids don't need vaccinations, that's just loony. Like we got rid of polio, right? Like we don't.
Yes. Here in the Bay Area, there's a county just north of San Francisco called Marin County. And in Marin County, that's kind of a place where the anti-vaccination movement is a little stronger than it is in most places. And, in Marin County, they've had outbreaks of measles there that they've never had for 30 or 40 years. And I think that kind of speaks for itself.
Yeah, you can't have your babies suffer, the children suffer, because you think perception is reality when reality is reality. Earlier, I just want to jump over these couple things real quick because they said my vocal was still too low. So just to recap, Ro Khanna has not endorsed you and has not reached out to you. Is that correct, Stephen?
As we speak now, that is correct. I hope to change that. Although I don't know how he's going to endorse me if he's already endorsed Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah,
those may be mutually exclusive. I just don't know.
Yeah, Yeah. Hey, look, hey, it's on the record. It is what it is. In the Justice Democrats, you haven't joined them yet. You're not sure. You haven't fully examined them yet. Is that correct?
I need to know a little more. I certainly will make a decision in the near future about that. Yes.
Got you. And anyone who didn't hear earlier, Stephen Jaffe is also a strong advocate for Medicare for all. Is that correct, Stephen?
There's no stronger advocate for Medicare for all than I am.
He also said, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just want to make sure. And he also said, I think was a very strong point I want everyone to know. He said he believes that we should go beyond just minimum wage, raising the minimum wage to $12 to $15 an hour. He believes that the minimum wage should be dependent on what your cost of living is in a given area.
Yes, it should be indexed. That's the word, that the buzzword. It should be indexed to the cost of living to where it's paid.
Wow. Look, he had me at that. He's Stephen Jaffe, ladies and gentlemen. He's endorsed by Tim Canova, Preston Pecos. He's now endorsed by Tim Black. I don't know how much weight that carries. But,
oh man, thank you very much.
Hey, no problem, sir. I love what you're about. I love the fact you're a fresh voice, and you have ideas, and you don't need to vet them through a panel. By the way, guys, Stephen Jaffe takes no super PAC money, but he'll take yours if you go to his website. What's your website, Stephen?
Jaffe, the number 4, and the word Congress.com. Jaffe for Congress with the number 4.
Jaffe for Congress. Stephen's going to be at the People's Summit in Chicago, as will I. I hope to meet him there. Stephen, is there anything you'd like to tell the folks before we sign off? Where to go to meet you or whatever?
Well, because we're just kind of a baby campaign, I'd like to think that I'm still pretty accessible. If you go to my website, there's an email there. Write me if anybody wants to meet me. I'll do my best to say hello personally, whether it's by telephone or in person if it's feasible. I'm going to try to keep myself as accessible as possible. And I appreciate everybody listening to my ideas. And Tim, I sure appreciate you letting me have this opportunity to talk to you.
No, man,
thank you. Very enjoyable.
Well, you're welcome, Stephen, and I'm so glad to have you. When does the campaign, when does he really kick off? When is the election?
The election's in a year. It's far off, but I jumped in early because I'm a complete unknown. And my opponent is the best known congressperson in the Democratic Party. So I have to, the election's in early June of 2018.
Well, man,
and the general election isn't until November of 2018.
Oh man,
but the primary is going to be a big deal in June.
Look, that gives. I'm so happy you got started early. Maybe I'm in time, and maybe the community can get behind you in time. That gives us leeway, guys. Look, let's not let happen what happened with Tim Canova, guys. Let's get involved now, right? So go to JaffeForCongress.com. Find him on Twitter, as I did, and on Facebook. And let's get in. Stephen, I'd love to have you back without the technical crap, and hopefully in Chicago I'll make up for it.
Anytime. I'll look for you in Chicago.
Thank you, my brother. Guys,
right.
You got it, man. Looking forward to it. Ladies and gentlemen, Stephen Jaffe for Congress. Give it up for him. Thank you so much for joining us. You know what it is. Tomorrow is Freedom Friday. Stephen, every Friday I let people call in all across the country and beyond and voice their opinions on any topic and issue. So, guys, I'll see you tomorrow on Freedom Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Once again, thank you, Stephen, for showing up and being here and speaking truth to power. I'll see you guys later.
Thank you, Tim.
You got it,
Tim
brother.
Black. Tim Black. Tim Black.
I got it.
Yes, I am. Truth.